Important notice: the following content may be triggering. Viewer discretion is advised. All discussions are based on personal opinions and experiences. If you or someone you know needs help, please reach out to a local support organization. Important notice: the following content may...
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Through the Eyes of Survivors. I have a very special guest, and we're going to dive into a hot topic with Margaret Jefferson today. You know, abuse doesn't just leave scars. It reshapes every corner of our world. So, for parents who have lost children to domestic violence, it is a devastation that is so indescribable. And yet, from this kind of an unthinkable place, um, some people rise to a mission to speak out and fight back and to endure what no other parent ever wants to endure and walk alone in a journey. Speaking from personal experience, you know. So, in this deeply episode of Through the Eyes of Survivors, I am joined with Margaret Jefferson, a mother, advocate, speaker, whose life was forever changed when her child, her only child, Javon, was taken by domestic violence. Margaret's story is a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the power of purpose. And it's an incredible path from heartbreak to healing. And before we dive into this, I do have to promote one of our affiliates here, Opus Clip. Opus Clip is a wonderful AI tool. Whether you're a podcaster, influencer, or storyteller, Opus Clip uses AI to pull the best parts of podcasts like these into short clips from long content. We love it here. I love it. I use it all the time, and we think you'd love it too. So check it out through our affiliate link scrolling across the bottom of the screen there. And it can be populated there from the moderators in the comment section. It helps support BTSADV's work while it simplifies yours. So we're going to move on. And Margaret is here again. I just want to go through some of her, her bio here. Margaret is an advocate, an author, survivor. Like we had said before, her mission is born from extreme heartbreak of losing a child. She was raised in Chicago's West Side. Margaret's life was deeply impacted by the loss of Javon due to domestic violence. And through speaking engagements, memorials, and now her written work, Margaret channels her pain into a purpose. She stands tall for parents who suffer in silence today. She shares that journey with us and is an unstoppable advocate. So thank you, Margaret, for being here.
Thank you for allowing me to come on this platform and keep Javon's memory alive. Thank you.
Oh, I understand how important that is. So, Margaret, can you walk us through, to start with, what life was like before the tragedy? Who was Javon, and what kind of mother-son bond did you share?
So Javon was a very jovial child. Smile. If you see my smile,
Yeah.
that's his smile. So it's just like
Yeah.
full of life. And just a very happy child. Like we would have I didn't have much money, but we would go to the library and I would allow him to like just pick out different programs he want to see and things like that. And I remember when he was a little baby and I was like, okay, I want to bond with my son. I want to, because this is my first child. I didn't know what to do. And so I brought a baby body moving. It's like baby moving, baby body moving.
Yes, yes.
And so I played that and I played it, and I think he loved it. Okay. But
Mhm,
I played it. And, my parents, they loved him. Um, his grandparents on the other side, everyone loved Javon.
mhm.
And as he got older, he just got this personality. He loved taking pictures. And I'm like, where did he get this from? Me.
Yes.
I love to take pictures. He loved to take pictures. And it was for Christmas. It was actually our last Christmas. I didn't have much. I went to the Dollar Tree and I purchased this guitar for him. And he loved Iron Man. That's his favorite. Iron
Mhm.
Iron Man. He called himself Javon Iron Man. That's his name.
How cute.
He said, I'm Javon Iron Man. And I said, okay, you're Javon Iron Man. But during that time, it wasn't too much like Iron Man. It was like Spider Man, Batman.
Mhm.
And so I couldn't find Iron Man. I found him a book bag, but he had these little underwear on and he had the guitar and he was just playing and he was just singing. And I don't know what he was singing, but he was gone with the guitar and he enjoyed that Christmas. And it was a couple more gifts he was able to open up. And but that guitar was something that just stood out to him. He's so helpful.
Mhm.
He was 3, so he was like, "Oh, I want to help." Like we're bringing the groceries up, and he tried to pick up the watermelon. I mean, it was a small one, but I was like, "No, give me a moment. I'll pick up the water." But that's how helpful he wanted to be helpful. He was like,
That's one of the best stages. They don't know their limits, right?
"Yes, yes."
Yes.
He's like, "I want to be helpful," and he struggled to try to pick up the watermelon. I said, "Just put the water. Don't pick it up." And so I picked up the watermelon and took it upstairs, but it's just him trying to be helpful. Feeding the dog. His grandmother had a dog, and he had a taffy apple, and he wants to feed the dog. So he's like, "You can get a taffy apple too." So he was just
Yes.
always so helpful and just a fun child. And he's like, "Mom," and he's like, "Let's take pictures," and just so full of life.
What a
And
blessing.
it
What a
was.
blessing. I think back of my own daughter and the memories like that, and I wouldn't even with all the pain in the world, you can't trade that for all the blessings that you received, even in this short time.
And it's like an angel, our angels on earth. We got
Yeah.
to experience our angels in the flesh on
Mhm.
earth.
Yes, absolutely.
And how old was your daughter, if you don't mind me asking?
My daughter was 20 and she was pregnant with my first grandchild.
Oh, wow.
So her domestic dispute, she had left her abuser, but she he hunted her down, and it was a murder suicide pact kind of thing, and it was a big thing. It was very traumatic, and it was 13 years ago, and it still feels like it was yesterday.
It does. And I'm so sorry.
Oh,
I
thank
I, I
you. I'm
know.
so sorry for your loss. I mean, when did you begin to notice signs that something wasn't right going on, like red flags that stand out to you now?
Well, before I had Javon, um, I'm just going to call him that person.
Yes,
Um,
I understand.
yeah, we're going to call him that person.
Mm,
Um, that person, he hit me before I had Javon. I didn't even know I was pregnant, to be honest.
yeah,
And he hit me and he blackened my eye because I was trying to leave. And I
mhm,
was like, I don't want to be with you. I'm not going to deal with this. And he hit me and he blacked my eye. And I was like, I'm just through. I called the police and I had to go to the hospital just to make sure I didn't have like any brain injuries or anything like that. And then I found out I was pregnant. And
right,
I was like, oh my goodness, what do I do? And my family was so divided. It was like, well, keep the baby. And then I had my other half saying, no, get rid of the baby because of the circumstances. And I was like, I went to this exhibit. I was in school and I went to this exhibit and I was like, God, if you want me to have the baby, let me know. and he gave me a sign. It was the human, I think human life exhibit. And so what they had like moms that have donated their bodies to science. And I
Yeah.
saw a mom and she had her baby inside her stomach. And I was like, I want to give my baby life.
Mhm.
And I decided, and that was the best decision I could make was to have my baby, Javon.
Absolutely. I agree.
So
Abs
that, yeah, that was a sign that, but I didn't know what domestic violence was because
Yeah,
a lot of people didn't talk about it.
right.
Um,
Do
it was
you feel like, was there something previous before at home or something that just kinda normalized it, or was this your j
like,
first experience?
this was my first experience.
Yeah.
My parents, I come from a two parent loving household, so
Right.
I never I didn't know that it was this side of things until
Right.
I actually got in a relationship, and I was like, okay, I know this person don't supposed to hit me. I know this person don't supposed to talk bad to me. And it was like, well, maybe if I help this person, maybe they'll become better. Or,
Yes.
you try to have that hope because I grew up in a loving household and my parents were married. They were married since I was 5 years old. And I'm like, I seen how they did it. And I was like, well, maybe I could try and show this person I love them, I care. And
Mhm.
then maybe that'll make this person want to change and show me that love back.
Right.
So, there was signs, but I knew that no one's supposed to hit you for one.
Right.
But I didn't know about verbal. I mean, I know people get into arguments, so I just kind of tied it under that line. Oh, it's just an argument.
Mhm.
But with verbal abuse, mental abuse, financial abuse, sexual abuse, I didn't know that this all tied into that. And now looking back, now that I have the knowledge I have now, I'm like, okay, you were going through all these different types of abuse. Like you didn't went through every form of abuse and you didn't even know it. And you was like, oh, we just get in an argument. It's going to be okay. Or, oh, you know, um, maybe you just need to help him more and he won't call you out your names. Like just trying to have so much empathy for a person to make, you know, hoping to get
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, I understand, I completely understand. My first husband was, abusive, and it was a constant feeling like, if I could just love him enough,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And he would even use those words at me. Well, I just really don't understand what real love is till I met you, and I need you to help me
Mhm.
through this kind of stuff, right? So it's a trap we all tend to fall into. They kind of pick people that they know that they can have that kind of influence over.
Yeah.
So I think sensitive people who are keen on helping. But um, yeah, so did you think that maybe the pregnancy and Javon coming would change anything in the relationship?
Yeah, I thought it would change things. I didn't want to be with him. I
Hmm.
kind of wanted him to go. He had another son with someone else, so I kind of wanted him to just go to her, leave me alone.
Right.
But now I'm like, okay, I guess I got to try to make this work because now it's a child involved and I want the two-parent household just like my parents. I grew up. I
Hmm.
want that same thing for my child. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I know. And I saw him at the court, and I had my sister beside me, and I was like, can you tell him? Because she knew him growing up. And I was like, can you tell him? And she sat there, she pulled out the ultrasound, and was like, she's pregnant. And he was like, I'm so sorry. He apologized, and I'm sorry, it won't happen again, and everything like that. And let's try to be a family, and
Right.
the whole spiel that we hear all so often.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so after after you had Javon,
Yes.
did that, obviously that started, did it start to translate over to Javon right away in the abuse, or was it mostly aimed at you in the beginning?
Um, so he never hit Javon
Oh,
or
okay.
his children. He never hit them. If I say, "Hey, I'm gonna tap him" or anything, don't hit him, don't tap him. So I was like, okay, he never. I never seen him hit him. I
Mhm.
never seen him like he really didn't like yell at him or
Mhm.
nothing. I never seen him like yell or nothing like that. Or he'd be like, "Hey, stop!" Like if we going to the stove or something like that. So, but the day that it happened, he yelled at him. But before then, he was this whoever this person became towards my son is a person I never seen. Now, maybe towards me, but
Mhm.
never to my son. Um, so like he like the first time he punched me, right?
Right.
And then after that, I'm recapping back in
Yes.
my memory. Then after that, it went from it was no longer physical abuse with us.
Mhm.
It was more verbal, mental, and financial, all the other different abuse opposed to the physical. So
Right.
he didn't hit me again,
Mhm.
but he started to call me out my names. Oh, you're cheating. So and so and so. Or or let me, I can't pay the rent because we decided to move in together later because it was okay. It was like that honeymoon phase.
Right.
So we decided to move in together. And once we moved in together, it was like the verbal and stuff. So it was more geared towards me.
Mhm.
He didn't show that towards his kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's hard to think of that they would, in this kind of a circumstance, that he would ever have done anything to his
No,
children, right?
no. Maybe to me,
Mhm.
but not to Javon.
Right.
I'm
And
like,
a lot of times we think, well, we can endure this, and we're protecting the kids in some way, shape, or form, and I know I experienced that.
yeah,
Thought I was protecting the kids, and that it was just aimed at me. Something wrong with me. Um,
yeah.
maybe I can do better, or if I just stay out of his way here,
Hmm.
keep the peace,
Walk on
right?
eggshells. So,
But the verbal was way worse than the physical. I still, and I've been divorced from this man for 23 years, and I
wow.
still can hear and hear the things he said. Once it's said and put out there, it gets locked
Hmm.
and it never goes away. Whereas the physical, I can walk away and it was still traumatic and still, but the verbal, I think, was more scarring for me personally
Hmm.
than anything that physically went on.
Yeah,
So,
it's the mental because it plays with your mind, and it's like, okay, because I started wearing like makeup. I got
right.
makeup now, but um, and I was like, oh, well, maybe if I do this, or I change my hair, or I wear this outfit, or maybe I can be better for him, you
Hmm.
know, and it just seemed like I felt like I wasn't good enough during that time. Like, okay, I'm doing everything and it's still not good enough. I don't know what I need to do. So it was like now I have learned self-love and about loving myself opposed to trying to appease someone else or do things to make them feel what makes me feel good, what
Right.
makes me feel whole now. But
Hmm.
back then it was geared towards trying to make this other person feel good and
Hmm.
yeah, get validation from them.
Right.
Hmm.
Absolutely. So many people fall into that with a relationship. So it's really essential to know who you are first
Yes.
and be able to be yourself in a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
So, um, can we talk about the day with Javon? What happened? What led up to his passing?
Yeah.
As comfortable as far as you want to go.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So I remember that day, I was going to register for school. I just graduated from, I don't know if I should say the school, but I just graduated from college
Okay.
and a junior college, and I was enrolling for, I start my first semester at a 4-year college. And I was like, okay, I got a 4.0. I'm doing great. And then I'm like, I'm going to register for the next semester. And so that person was there with Javon, and I was like, well, I need to go register. Can you just watch him while I go register? And then he was like, well, I want to come with you. And I was like, okay, fine, we can all go. So we all went to the school. I registered for class, but on the way back, that person did something strange. Because Javon was messing with the locks in the car,
Okay.
and he was like, he yelled at him.
Hmm.
And normally he doesn't yell at him or nothing, but he yelled at him. And I was like, don't yell at him, you know, or whatever like that. And I was like, it's okay. Javon started to cry. And I said, it's okay. We drove back to the house, and it was my birthday like that last month. And a friend of mine was like, oh, I want to take you somewhere because I didn't get a chance to spend time with you for your birthday. And I was like, oh, okay, that'll be great. Um, I went to get the clothing, the items from the dresser to try to get ready. And he's like, where are you going? And then he pushes me on the bed, and he had a knife in his hand, and he stabs me multiple times and raped me. He raped me first, and then I guess, I don't know if he had the knife on the bed, but he gets the knife and he stabs me multiple times. And I'm trying to get away. We wrestle. He falls. I get the knife. I throw the knife out, and I'm trying to like yell for help.
Hmm.
And I'm like halfway in, halfway out, and I'm like, help, help. And he comes and he starts punching me in my face. I couldn't hold on, and I'm pushed from a second floor window. And I have
Oh,
no bottoms. I'm bloody. It's just a real gruesome scene. And
right.
Javon is up there with him. Now, as a mother, we get these, I can't explain it, spider senses. Like,
Yes, mother's instinct
yes,
definitely is a
the
thing.
mother, yes. And the door downstairs automatically locks. And it's like this steel door automatically locks. I'm losing blood. I'm feeling like I'm going to fall out at that moment because I'm losing a lot of blood. And people are outside. It's actually a funeral across the street
Hmm.
with a little girl. She passed away, and it's a funeral. They're having a funeral at this church across the street, and it's like a busy street, and I'm in the middle of the street and trying to get help because I'm like, get my baby. Like, I don't know. It was just my motherly instincts that just kicked in, and it's like, and then somehow I seen a police car, and I'm walking down the street just bloody, and it was an off-duty police officer. I'm like, help, I need help, my son. And I told him where. I can't remember. I told him where, and he goes, I guess the neighbors open the door because you can't get back in because it automatically locks. He
Hmm.
goes upstairs, and I'm waiting on the ambulance to come. And because I live in a low income environment, it took forever for them to come.
Hmm.
And the hospital was like right up the street. It wasn't that far, but I had to wait. And then once I got in the car, um, well, not the car, I'm sorry. Once the ambulance arrived, I got in and I said, "Where's my son? Where's my son? Like, I need my baby." And they're like talking amongst themselves, and I see my mom, and she's like so concerned and looking like, and I'm like, where's my baby? And I see a stretcher in the back, but I'm like, what is that for? Like,
Yeah, it
where's
seems surreal. Yeah.
yeah, where's my baby? Where's my baby? And I'm just asking, like, where's my baby? I need my baby. Um, and then from there, when I got to the hospital, they let me know that he passed away.
Right. Oh, that is so it's heartbreaking when that happens. You just can't I feel your pain. I'm just you know, it's something you never truly forget when you experience something like that. It's the
No,
worst thing ever, ever. And and you were coping with your own injuries as well. I'm so heartbroken for you. I'm so sorry. But oh my. I knew this was going to be an emotional episode. And it's okay cuz when I tell my story I make people cry all the time too.
yeah,
Um, and I would tell you, you just keep telling your story because it's a part of the healing process for some of us. Being able to say our truth and talk about these things. So, um, what happened with him? What did was he arrested? Did he? What happened with your ex?
he was arrested, and he pleaded not guilty for 3 years. So I had to keep going to court, continuance, 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 and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is never ending.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It
and
and the system tends to re-victimize you at every turn with it too, because they don't like to tell you anything. It's very traumatizing to go through.
I was so blessed to have Chicago survivors. I had a lady from Chicago survivors, and she reached out to me, and she went to every court date. It was an outside organization, and went to every court date,
Mhm,
made sure I was in a loop, and then I had a great a victim advocate
mhm,
and my attorney. My attorney was wonderful. Like, they kept me in the loop. They was like, "Hey, you're gonna have to come in this day, and this is what we're doing. Do you understand this?" They went over everything with me. So I was happy to have people like that that was back in my corner,
mhm.
and I became a part of a community that I never want to be a part of.
Yeah.
Mothers, or people that have lost children. I
Mhm.
didn't want to be a part of this community, but this is my reality now. And I had those women come. Some of those women came to the court dates with me, held my hand,
Mhm.
and the one lady from Chicago survivor, and we're friends to this day.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. We had kind of a similar experience with the advocate, um, domestic violence advocate who was working with my daughter turned around and became our advocate in court, and she went with us every time, and we're still very close to this day. She's
Yes.
become like a member of our family.
Yes.
So it's amazing when a community can rallies around a victim and a victim's family. So I'm grateful you had that support.
Yes.
Um, it's definitely heartbreaking, to lose a child like that. So you went to court for 3 years, and has he been convicted? What's
Yes.
his sentence?
Life plus 25 years.
Good, good. Yeah, it doesn't. That's one of the things I tell people all the time. He got 3 consecutive life sentences for because
Mm.
well, because you had asked about her story. He had committed suicide, but he involved his roommate. His roommate
Oh,
was involved in the situation,
oh my
and
goodness.
so there were they had killed another man for his car, and so there were three. They convicted him of 3 consecutive life sentences in our case, and
Wow.
it was a death penalty case as well. And
Oh,
so, yeah, I understand about court and taking how long it takes, and the system and what that all entails. It's heartbreaking to have to go through so much, because even in the closure of getting that kind of sentencing, I mean, you tell me how you felt, but it felt like a weight lifted off, but because that part of it was done, but it didn't feel like any real justice, you know, because the justice would be our children would be here.
Yes. I felt like in my statement that I had to go, it won't bring Javon Iron Man back, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and he never said anything. He never
Mhm.
said anything.
Yeah, most of them don't. And somewhere we expect somewhere that they will be sorry, but that kind of validation never comes. It, it's a place you definitely don't want to join the club. Absolutely not.
No.
But you are so heroic and so brave for talking about this, and yeah, I'm so honored that you're here to talk about it. So, what we're going to do real quick, I think this is a good place to take our break real quick and then come back and talk to Margaret about her advocacy work and what she's been doing since the death of Javon. So, we're fixing to take that break. Um, Here we're going to play a video clip for everyone out there. Break the Silence Against Domestic Violence has an annual retreat that we're going to play you a promotional clip for. It'll only take a minute. We invite you to this space if you would like to come join us on our healing retreats. That you get connection with other survivors who understand your experience. It's coming up this June. And we're hosting it out in Colorado Springs under the beautiful mountains. There's all kinds of healing workshops there and we would love to have you at that space. So let's take a quick look for a minute at our powerful retreat, and then we'll be right back and talk to more.
What I wish I knew a year ago is that healing is possible, and you don't have to do it alone. Welcome to Sister Survivor Retreat in beautiful Colorado Springs, June 19th, 22. This retreat is your sanctuary, a place where you can connect with other women who understand your journey. Experience the transformative power of equine therapy, feel the serenity in yoga sessions, and create nourishing sugar scrubs. Our empowering workshops are designed to help you reclaim your strength and embrace your future. Most importantly, you'll build a sisterhood, a community of support that will last long after the retreat ends. If you've been DV-free for at least a year, join us to find healing and connection. Visit our website to apply or click the link in the description. Remember, you are not alone. Together we rise. What I wish I...
Wonderful. We are back. If you would like to find more out about the retreat, go over to the website btsadv.org and apply and register. Someone will contact you and give you more details. And so now let's return back to our conversation here with Margaret Jefferson. Margaret, after well, for me, advocacy work even started kind of during the trial process. When did it kind of begin for you?
Well, I'm going to say if you count going back to school to learn about it,
Mm-hmm.
I went back. I'm going to say I took a semester off and I went back to school because I wanted to learn like why would a person do this, and I wanted to learn so I can be able to teach others and so that I can tell my story. I said my son story needs to continue. My story, my son's story, this needs to continue because people need to know that it's happening every day
Yeah.
and we can't just disregard it. It
Mm-hmm.
needs to be brought to the forefront. Everyone, because I was pretty much like I'm scared to tell anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ashamed, and I'm so fearful. Like they find out, they're gonna judge me and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got to the point like it was already on the news, it was everywhere. Why not just speak on it now? Like, so I started when I went back the semester after everything took place to learn more, but to actually get out there and speak, I
Mhm.
spoke at the homicide victim memorial.
Mhm.
Our former state's attorney invited me to come speak on the platform, and that was, I want to say, a year after everything transpired. And I went on the stage and I spoke for the first time at the homicide victim memorial. And I felt how people came up to me and said, "Thank you for sharing your story. I went through it." Because now they felt like that weight was being lifted off. I can say I went through it because you told your story,
Mhm.
and I'm a survivor, or I'm working through it. Do you have any resources? And I
Right.
tried to connect them with the young lady that I met before that was helping me. She had the resources. I would try to connect her or whoever comes up to me. Hey, I can connect you to this resource. So it was like a year later when I actually feel like I became like an advocate by speaking out against it.
Mhm. Right. Absolutely. How do you balance that with like your emotional well-being,
Mhm.
and yet, because I get that question quite often, so how I balance my emotional well-being and yet still continue to advocate and tell my story. How do you balance that?
Well, first for me, God first for me. I
Yeah.
pray, and I talk to God about different things. I say, God, help me to be able to get my story out and allow someone to be touched, a life to be touched. So first, God, I go
Mhm.
to therapy.
Mhm.
I work out. Well, I try to work out. I do Zumba. Now I might be off beat, but
Right.
I do Zumba. So I try to get some type of exercise in.
Mhm.
I'm surrounded around love,
Yes.
family and friends, love just everywhere. And that's so important to have a tribe or people that love you and they can pour into you and say, "Hey, you can talk to me about, whatever you need help with," or and they will be there and they'll support me 100%. And I had that even after everything took place. Like my family and friends, they just gathered, excuse me,
Mhm.
around me with love. Um, I was just surrounded by love.
Absolutely. It's
Mhm.
definitely not the calling that you expected to have. That was my experience, because God led me through so much with it
Mhm.
that I never realized that, um, for one, God does turn terrible events into something remarkable if you let Him, and
Yeah.
miraculous. Um, that's one of the things I have definitely learned in my experience. Um, it's not the life I would have picked or the calling I would have ever imagined. I sure didn't imagine I'd speak before hundreds of people for years,
Yes.
telling our stories and trying to advocate and work so hard so that no other person would go through what we've experienced.
Yes.
But the God definitely will use your talents in ways that you will never imagine, and ones you never imagined you had. And as long as you are open and say, "Yes, I'm here to do it," God blesses you.
Yes.
That's one thing I have definitely learned through all of this. And God bless you, Margaret.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to say that from one mother to another,
Thank you.
that you're definitely, doing what I believe God wants you to at this point. And when you acknowledge that, He will bless you tremendously. So
Yes.
just keep going. Um, so I guess, like, what advice would you give maybe the other advocates and survivors out there who want to tell their stories but they are scared, because you said that you've seen that, and just telling your story
Mhm.
has opened that up. But what advice would you give those who are thinking about taking that next step?
Consult God first.
Mhm.
Pray and listen. You have to be in a peaceful place or like a silent place to kind of hear. This is what I want you to do. This is the direction I want you to go into.
Mhm.
So first, pray, and if God say this, I want you to do this, go and do what he's calling you to do. And don't be afraid. Do it with fear because he can help you through anything. So do it if you're afraid. Just
Mhm.
do it because you don't know who life you're touching.
Yes.
Even through this broadcast, I don't know who life or who's going through what, but I know that I'm touching someone's life out there and they're going to come across this and they're going to say, because of you saying your story or speaking out, I didn't want to commit suicide or I didn't want to, so you never know.
Mhm.
So do it even if you're afraid.
Yes, absolutely. And like, we're going to talk a little bit more, but if anybody has any questions for Margaret or for myself, just put those into the chat. We'll be glad to answer those here towards the end. Um, but I guess part of what I I want to ask you personally is, like, you've done so much to keep Javon's memory alive, right? What
Yeah.
does that legacy mean to you now, personally?
It makes me feel like my son is, I know he's still here,
Mhm.
but it makes me feel like he's like right here beside me.
Right.
So by me keeping his name alive, even though it's years later,
Mhm.
they fine. Like they're knowing his name in different places that I never imagined. And they know who Javon is.
Right.
Even though, even though, even though they never met him,
Mhm.
but you know, everyone know who Javon Iron Man is.
Yes.
And that was my goal to keep his memory alive and his legacy. And that's what it means to me to feel like my son is right here with me and he is a part of me.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, it is so important. That's one of the things that drives me as well. The that her spirit, I think, still is here and conveys that, moves people. And as long as that's her story and her memory is moving people, Little Iron Man's going to continue to move people, Margaret. And as long as he does that, that makes everything worth the effort. It's a hard thing, and it makes it worth the effort. Um, I know for me, I love when people bring up Ashley. I do, because it gives me that opportunity,
Ashley.
um, to, like at the beginning of this, where we talked about Javon's great memories and great qualities, because those are the things that made this person so special in this world. We don't want the memory to just be about their death, right? So that is so, so important. And I loved that story with, he forever be Iron Man. That
Yeah.
is so, yeah, just so wonderful.
And I have my book.
Hmm.
If you want to, can I?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that anyway, but go ahead and talk about the book. Yes. So talk
So,
about your book.
okay. So I have it right here. So I wrote a book during the pandemic. I sat here and I thought, like, what can I leave behind? How can people know who I am, who Javon is? So I wrote a book. It's called Wrong Way,
There
a
you go.
heart, a heart that will never heal,
Hmm.
and it talks about my life and things that I've went through with domestic violence, Javon, and just keeping the memories alive. I mean, I go through the mental health aspect because
Hmm.
the grieving portion, when you lose a child, you grieve the process. And sometimes people are like, oh, you're not over it yet. And grieving does not have a time frame.
Mm-mm.
So that's why I named it A Heart That Will Never Heal,
That's a
because
beautiful title. Yes.
because people are like, well, your heart will heal, but if you never lost a child, it's a hole or a piece that's missing, and it will never heal. That piece will never heal. You can have 50 more children, but that piece is still hurting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I say now, I know God can help you to begin to heal, but it's still a piece, which is Javon, that's I'm going to always remember my son, and it's never going to heal. And so that's why I named the book A Heart That Will Never Heal. And I'm going to show you, you see
Yes.
I have the heart and then the clock for time,
Yes.
because we never know the time frame in which we're not going to be here. So we have to be made aware to cherish every moment. Oh, do I have it right there? Cherish. No, look, I'm getting it wrong.
You were right. Right there. There you go.
Cherish every moment that
Yeah.
we have here, because
Yes.
we never know the last day. So I have the clock there, the heart, and the clouds, because I know that Ashley, I know that Javon, they're
Hmm.
up in heaven and they're watching down on us. And so
Yes.
that's why.
Yes. I tell people all the time, especially after that first year, and well, into the second year, um, when I would get the "you're not over it yet," I I said, people don't go up to an accident victim who lost like an arm
Mhm.
and go, "When are you going to get over that? Aren't you over that yet?" Why do they expect it with a child? Because that's the thing I tell people, we are, especially mothers who are like us, a lot of mothers are, we're highly functioning people, but I lost a part of myself that I can never get back.
Yes.
And to question how long it's going to take, I can lose my right hand. Wrong. I can lose this arm, the one
Yeah.
I write with, the one I hammer with, the one I eat with, and I can retrain this one to do all those things, but it won't replace the fact that I lost this to begin with.
Right.
And people just don't see that's the kind of healing that we have to go through and endure. It's forever gone. It's a
Right.
piece of your soul
That's it.
forever gone,
That's it.
you know? So it's so vital, um, for us to, as mothers, be able to give meaning to these lives that had so much meaning and purpose for us. So it's a beautiful thing that you're doing. Absolutely. And so everybody get Margaret's book. And we will have the links in the description, especially over on YouTube. If you check us out on YouTube, that will permanently be there. And our moderators, Amanda, in here will probably, I'm sure she'll get the link in here for everybody as well. But definitely get that book. So
You,
I guess go
it's on
ahead.
my website too.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
margaretjeffersoninspires.com. Margaretjeffersoninspires.com. You can
Yes.
reach
And
me.
that will be linked in as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So, um, if Javon was here today, what would you want him to know about the woman you've become? That you are touching lives in his name. What would you want him to know?
I would want him to know that he was the greatest gift ever. And because of him, he has transformed me to become the woman that I am today.
Mhm.
That's what I would want him to know.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Mhm. And what is like one myth or misunderstanding about domestic violence that you would like to debunk for our audience?
Um, One myth. I mean, people always just saying like, "Oh, just leave. It's because of you. You're allowing it to happen, and it wouldn't happen if you don't allow it. Like, just leave." That's the thing. Just leave. Everyone talks about just leave, but no one talks about the after effect of leaving. And if you don't have, like, it planned, or you try to have it planned, what about this stalking? Like, what happens then?
Right.
What happens when they, because I was stalked as well, and I reported it, and it just, yeah, it was just a lot. But what happens in those, you're telling me to leave, now what? I don't have my finances, I don't have my financials to go anywhere. I have my job over here. How do I move from having this job? Like, you're telling me just leave, but how do I do that? Instead of providing me with resources and talking about me and just criticizing me, how about you provide me with some resources? Or how about you say, hey, you know what? I know this person, they can help you create a plan so you can leave in a safe manner.
Hmm. No, absolutely. And even then,
Mm-hmm.
you've got
Yeah.
to be on guard, protected, and do, because I know in our daughter's case, she did everything the right way. All the authorities and everybody acknowledges she did everything the right way and left, and it still ended badly. And we were there in the trenches with her, and she had all the support she could. So to ask why people just don't leave, that's why.
Yeah.
There's a fear there.
Yeah.
And it's a reasonable fear. I didn't leave for 13 years because I didn't know what he would do to the kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was too afraid I wouldn't be there to protect them.
Mm-hmm.
So that I'm with you. That question really bothers me when people start to ask that, because that should be a question that just shouldn't be asked. You know, it
Yeah.
boggles my mind.
Yeah. I want them to debunk that myth of
Mhm.
you're choosing to be here, so it's your fault. Your fault. Like, stop victimizing victims.
Yes,
Stop that.
absolutely. I agree. Um, so is there anything else you want to, as far as like tell survivors or victims who may be watching this episode?
Well, I want to tell victims, survivors, that if I can do it, you can do it.
Mhm.
Um, it's hard, and it's mentally draining, but if I can do it, you can do it. Once again, God first. My uncle always told me, he passed away, he said, God first, then you, then everything falls into place. And if you reach out to God, he can help you. He can help you get through anything. That's
Yes,
it.
that's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Margaret, for being here. Um, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you. I just want to give you a big hug.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
I just want to say our kids' name, Ashley,
Mhm.
Javon. We keeping their memory alive. So you're doing a
Absolutely.
wonderful thing.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I love to tell people all the time, you know, we I'm going to speak for you too on this one.
Yes.
We love for you to, talk to us, and because we see our stories as, yes, it's a tragedy, but there's always hope. There's hope.
That's it.
We want you to see the hope. We speak out to so you can feel courageous, because
Mhm.
we're not particularly, you know, we're very courageous, but we don't see ourselves as that.
No.
We see us working out of necessity, and many survivors out there feel the same way. So just take the first step. Be courageous, because there is
Mhm.
hope out there.
There is hope.
There is hope. Um, So, uh, just Margaret, your work's going to have a lasting impact. I'm telling you, and I know it's impacted me, you being here, and everyone who's listening. Absolutely. Let me double check and be sure. We had lots of comments in here. I want
Okay.
to see sure there wasn't anybody who had any kind of a question here.
Okay.
Um, Jim said victim statements can have more power in the courts than you might think. Take your time with this and be detailed. I think he's talking to, we
Yeah.
have Stephanie in there telling us kind of her story. Stephanie said also she needs to remember that Ephesians 5 says, women, submit yourselves to your husbands and Christ to the head of the church. Jesus does not beat anyone or hit anyone.
No.
Know that you are valued by God, and that is no man. That absolutely, because God does value us on that level.
Yes. Yes. No, he don't want anyone to hit. Yes, you should leave, but in the midst of leaving, make sure you get the support so you'll and everything that you need to be able to leave,
Hmm.
and you can be, leave for good, opposed to having this person coming to stalk you or trying to, because that's the most crucial time that a lot of people don't understand, the leaving portion, because now this person will try to kill you. So we have to make sure, and like you said, your daughter, she did everything
Hmm.
and she left.
Hmm.
So no, I'm not telling anyone to stay with an abuser, but just try to make sure you have the proper precautions and things in place when you do leave.
Yes, absolutely. And there's a lot of hugs and thank yous for being here, saying you're amazing, and I have to agree.
Thank you.
So wonderful. Yes, Stephanie, I agree. Leaving is the most dangerous time.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
protect yourself. Definitely. Absolutely. And if anybody's watching, if they need help constructing that kind of a plan, we do have a support line at BTSADV that you can call or even text if you feel safer texting. The moderators will populate that in there for us as well. But absolutely, that's the support line's not a hotline. We can't help you with, you know, call 911 if you're in a dangerous situation, but the support line is there to help you find resources in your local area, and they can help you create a plan as
Mm.
well for safety so you can leave and find the local area resources you can go to. So I definitely, check out our support line. There it is up on the comment sections if anyone needs that support. Please contact them. They are wonderful. The support line is manned by other survivors.
Mm.
So it is survivors helping survivors, and they understand. So, absolutely. So, I guess this would conclude this episode of Through the Eyes of Survivors. And just to reflect on some of the takeaways today, I know grief can be paralyzing. If you have experienced grief, even if it's not from a domestic violence incident, um, but especially when it's tied to the loss of a child, but healing is possible through community, advocacy, and especially faith in God. Survivors like Margaret remind us that speaking out breaks cycles. So we don't need to be silent about this any longer. By honoring those we've lost, like Javon and Ashley and others out there, we're helping others create powerful legacies that their families, their children can go into a world and not have to fear about who's going to hurt them, and then have powerful, strong relationships. And that's why we tell our stories. So if you've been moved by this episode, we we invite you to support our mission at Break the Silence here. Your donations help heal victims like ourselves with our healing retreats, survivor programs, episodes that we bring you like this one. Go to our website, btsadv.org. And you can donate there. We also have PayPal, Venmo. We're on Patreon. Just look up either Break the Silence Against Domestic Violence or BTSADV, and you will find us. Also, like and share this episode. Help get the word out. That's the easiest way to help us. So just like and share here on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. We're on all those platforms. And join us next week. Next week's Through the Eyes of Survivors Uncensored. So that's our series where we talk about current hot topics. We're going to be talking about Scott Schreiner of Weezer. Evidently, his wife is the one that has been charged with domestic violence, and that's in the news. We're going to be talking about some legislation out of Nebraska, domestic violence related. And we're going to be talking about also there's different TikTok advocates out there who are telling their stories of domestic violence. And one in particular we're going to focus on because she has become a huge advocate in the TikTok world and what it's like over there for advocates. So just join us next week because you don't want to miss it. And until then, just stay safe and stay strong, and always remember to break your silence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Through the Eyes of Survivors. My name is Tara Woodlee, and I am the president of Break the Silence Against Domestic Violence, an organization that gives survivors and their families, and the families that have lost loved ones to domestic violence, access to a community that understands the journey that they're facing. We hope this episode impacts you, and hopefully you want to learn more about the topic. If it is helping you in some way, let us know in the comments below. We love your feedback. Also, make sure to click the subscribe button below and the bell right next to it so that you can get notified the next time an episode premieres. We hope you will see us in the next episode, and thank you.